Yes, in our normal class, we were discussing regarding the behavioral science approach, and in behavioral science approach, we were discussing regarding the hierarchy theory that has been given by Abraham Maslow. Now, after discussing that, it would be better for us to discuss some of the basic philosophy that underlines the human approach theories. The first one is that it tells that never in the normal course of life that the employees dislike work. Now, if at all they have helped the organization in setting up the objective, then definitely they would be very much interested in achieving them also. Now, this philosophy also tells that then what other things most of the people can always do better within themselves regarding the direction or the self control or the creativity that is necessary in their job. And speaking about the manager, human resource approach tells that the manager's main intention should be such that there are potentiality within the humans. These potential might not be always exhibited, but then manager has to untap those human potential services for the organization, and he should be such a person who can create a very healthy environment where all the subordinates, they can contribute to their full capabilities. And this environment should be such that it shall always see to that there is healthy environment, there is a safety for those who work, they can work comfortably, and also a working conditions should be such that it should always help bettering the works that is being done by the employees. And the manager should always provide self direction by the subordinates, and also it must be encouraged to they must be encouraged to participate fully in important matters is to tell that maybe in decision making process also. And the human approach tells that when the organization is able to influence the subordinates in terms of the direction in which they have to go, in terms of expanding their self control, it will always lead to bring efficiency in the organization. And there shall always be what is called as work satisfaction, which can be improved or which can be called as byproduct when subordinates make their full use of their potential. Now, moving forward, the next thing is regarding the human relation versus human resource approach. Now, speaking of this, now it is better if you understand what is human relations, what is human resources. So this is not deliberately given in your syllabus, but if at all, if you go through this particular information, it shall always help you in expanding your knowledge and also may be useful in you approaching towards the questions that might have been asked regarding that. Now, regarding the contributions and limitations. Now, these behavioral scientists, they have made a very much contribution in terms of understanding what motivates an individual, why does a person behave in such a manner when he is put in a group, and also regarding the relationship the employees have with one another in work, and also the importance of work to human beings. Now all these have, these things, especially how a human behaves in a group, or why is that work is important for him, what motivates a individual, all these have laid as a foundation for what is called as human resource management. Now, this human resource management, it speaks about the effective utilization of the human resource that is there in the organization. Now, when you go deeper into this human resource management, there you would be having concepts of job enrichment, then you have management by objective and positive reinforcement. Now, all these topics you would be learning in detail in the coming classes. Might not be in the same subject, but in different subjects. Now, all these things, could it be, job enrichment? Now, job enrichment speaks about always making one job interesting and challenging, so that it is not boring and monotonous. And management of by objective you would be learning, and positive reinforcement is nothing but when you do better, you should always be rewarded with for the good performance that you do. Now all these things are results of behavioral science approach. Now, this being the advantaged part of behavioral science, on the other hand, you do have limitations also. Now, the first one is regarding the self-actualization needs that we spoke about. Now, it speaks that all the employees would definitely want to achieve self-actualization in work. But then there are some of the views from the critics that um, people like professionalists and those who are in the top level management, they might want self actualization definitely, but then not every employee would have the same desire. Now people would be having diverse needs, and we can never consider that everyone would want to have same amount of everyone might not have the same needs. For some of them, might be social needs is better off than self actualization need. This is regarding the first limitation. The second limitation is in terms of the compatibility between the individual and organization goal. Now, it tells that usually individuals, the organization should see to that in the way of achieving its goals, the employees must also realize their individual goals. But in reality, individuals' desires would be entirely autonomous and creative, and there might be some of the odds with the organizations needs to be efficient, orderly and predictable. And the third thing is that this approach is considered as the non-human aspects of an organization, such as task, technology and manufacturing are never taken into consideration. And the next critic is that now, it also is same like the earlier approach, which search for one best way of managing things. Where in actual way there cannot be one best actual way of doing things. And this human behavior is always complex, and behavioral scientists often differ in their recommendations for a particular problem, which makes it difficult for manager to decide whose advice is that they will have to follow. Now, after this, we do have quantitative approach. Now, quantitative approach is nothing but where we tend to use numbers, where we can quantify things. Now, this quantitative approach, where we use systematic explanation, it gained huge popularity during World War II. Now, the way in which the World War II was fought and the effort that both British and the US military took, you know, the main reason was that it was developed during this particular time period was that whatever items that were used in World War, there was a shortage of resources, and these resources had to be used in a best possible way, because they never knew when the war would stop or how many days would still the war would continue. And it was during that period that this quantitative approach was were started to build. Now, this quantitative approach, it uses the studies of mathematics, statistics, and also information aids, which helps the managerial decision and thereby making organization more effective. Now, in briefly, if we have to speak, this quantitative approach has evolved over time, and it has three main branches. The first one is management science, then we have operations management, and we have management information system. Now, first one is management science. Now, this management science, it always helps in increasing decision effectiveness by using mathematical models and also the statistical measures. Now, what we can understand is that this management science or quantitative approach, it usually solves the problems technically rather than human behavior problems. Now, in developing this management science or quantitative science in the recent days, the computers is one of the greatest help, which does the thousands of calculation in a moment or in a second. Otherwise, might be management science would have been a difficult field to go further. Now, there are some of the features of quantitative approach. The features of quantitative approach is that it usually offers quantitative aids, that is than subjective. It always gives a objective solution, and it always helps in decision making, and also develops quantitative tools to assist in providing products and services. Now, this quantitative approach, like any other approach, the main focus is always on decision making. And the managerial choice in any situation will always depend on criteria such as maybe cost, revenue, return on investment impact, and on other areas. What we can see through this is that it definitely helps in decision making, but then the elements that are being used must be able to be changed into quantitative terms. Now, here importance or emphasis shall always be given to computers and how they can process this data. and the final solution shall be reduced to mathematic formula and are subject to later further analysis and processing to find viable alternative. Now this is how even you are expected to do a project in your next year. You would be having data calculations you would be doing, but then the analysis or the interpretation should be done from you. That is what happens in quantitative approach. You would be having all the information that is necessary. The calculation would be done with the help of computers. The results would be, you know, the results would be reached at, but then why did you reach that particular point should be decided by you, or it should be interpreted by you. Then we have operations management. Now, operations management, as the word tells operations, now it is the function which helps the organization in managing both the production and also the delivery of the organization's products. Now, when we speak of products, it can be products or services. But the operations management, it would be helpful in managing this production and also delivery service. Now, operation management will always include elements like inventory management, maybe production planning, how to design a product within the organization, where shall it be located, what would be the schedule of work, and what would be the quality assurance. Now, even when we speak of operation management, we have something called as LPP or linear programming. Now, this linear programming usually helps the employees to work and storing and shipping of the final products, and also in input output analysis. Along this side, we have queuing theory which helps in inventory control. We have sampling theory which helps in profit planning. There can When we speak about human resource, we have manpower forecasting. Now, if at all we have to speak regarding system designs and the data processing, then there is something called as information theory which helps. Now, each of this, the linear programming or queuing theory, sample theory, now each is a subject, each can be studied over a long time period. What I have said is, I have said it in brief. Now, after this, we have management information system. Now, a management information system or MIS. Um, now, it is nothing but where we focus, design, and implement things in the organization, and all these elements would be based on computer or information system. Now, these are the three different things under quantitative approach. And regarding this, we have benefits and limitations also. Now, the benefits of quantitative theory is that the problems can be easily defined. Whereas you have numbers, you have definite elements, if it can be acceptable or it cannot be acceptable. Now, one more benefit is that it always helps in expanding disciplined thinking. The managers can always have holistic view which would influence the decision making in a better way. And the third benefit is that quantitative approach is always objective in nature. So the subjective element or the confusing element shall always be deducted. Now, speaking about the disadvantages of quantitative approach, the main thing is that there should be a way in which the elements which causes the problems could be converted into quantitative terms. If that is not possible, then definitely there is a problem in decision making. Okay, and it is always said that the most important piece of information in an organization is always difficult to change into quantitative terms. And there are also chances that it is difficult to bring a functional relationship between these elements. And the second disadvantage is that there is no element of human relationship. All that is concerned is with the decision making, how the variables could be identified, the collection of data, and the processing of the data. The human relation, the individual's needs, and the human behavior is never considered. And the third thing is, yes, it helps in decision making, but then the results that are to be reached at are not readily available. And also, then there is this problem of the manager's decision making. Now, to collect data, to classify them, and to get result, it takes a huge amount of time. And a manager can never wait until that particular time. And also, these decisions depends upon the data that is being used. Now, if the data itself is not correct or if it is wrong, then the entire decision might prove wrong for the organization. So this is all regarding the quantitative approach. After that, what we have is system approach. Okay. Now, speaking about system approach, it speaks about the decision which are to be taken by managers. Now, it system approach in brief tells that a decision that is taken by a manager will always have a huge impact. They not only affect the internal, but it also affects the external groups in one way or the other. Maybe we can take the example of decisions such as changing the location of plant, or shutting down one of the plant, or to cut off some of the employees, or to give promotion, whatever the decision it takes. Now, all the decisions that are being taken in an organization will always have a ripple effect. Now, ripple effect is nothing but what you can understand is that when you just throw a stone in the stagnant water in a lake, it will always form waves after waves. Now, those waves which are created one behind one is called as ripple effect. The same in the organization. When you take a decision, it will have leading results which can be observed one after another. Now, that is to tell if at all. The company, by seeing the inefficiency of an employee, it might throw him out of the work. But then, if it does so, the company might also face trouble from unions. So it is always said that a manager who has been given the charge to take decision, he should always understand and also anticipate what would be the results of his decision on the entire organization and also to the environment. And this is nothing but, in a nutshell, the entire system operation, where they tell that the organization is in total nothing but is smaller parts of many interrelated and interdependent parts put together for achieving some certain objective. Okay. Now, speaking about the system approach, it is nothing but the big picture approach, which usually overcomes the common weakness of other approach, where only certain elements of the organization is taken, maybe the efficiency in the product, or could be the human relation, whereas system approach, it takes into consideration every element that is inside the organization and somewhere also external to the organization, and it speaks about the organization as one single unified entity, which is in other way a group of interrelated parts. Now, speaking about this, than dealing with each part of the organization differently, system theory always asks to look into things or organization as a whole and as a part of even larger external environment. And it also tells that when the job of a manager is always to ensure that all these parts of the organization, they are coordinated internally so that the goals can be achieved. Now, in other words, this system approach tells that, when we consider two different facts, the fact that the production department might be the most efficient one in the organization, but then if the marketing department does not anticipate changes in consumer tastes and work out this problem along with the product department, then the organization's overall performance definitely shall be less and less. Now, speaking about this, we can speak of some of the things that is used in the system approach. There we have system. Now, system tells that system is nothing but it is a set of interrelated parts. Now, each parts here will have various subparts, and all these parts, or it could be subparts, they are mutually, related to one another. That is to tell, all put together becomes one. Each is connected to the other. Individually, they do not have existence. Collectively, they are always helpful for the organization. And a change in one will always lead to change in another. Now, speaking about subsystem, it is nothing but these are the different parts which put together makes the entire system. Or in other words, when we consider an organization, we shall have departments. Now, these department would be a subsystem of plant. Now, a plant for a company, there shall be hundreds of plant. So each of plant shall be subsystem of a company. Now, speaking of company, definitely it is subsystem of industry. So if we have to speak about subsystem, now there are five subsystem usually within an organization. The first one is subsystem, which is concerned regarding the individual and group goals. Then we have technical subsystem, which consists of the employee skills or regarding the core operation of the business, the tools, the equipments, the skills, knowledge. And then we have a structural subsystem, which speaks about the authority and the relationships in the organization. We have a managerial subsystem, the managers who plan and control. We have psychosocial subsystem, which speaks about psychological and social factors influencing people at work. After this, what we have is called as synergy. Now, speaking about synergy, in a nutshell, it is nothing but the whole shall always be greater than the sum of its parts put together. To give an example, we can always give the example of a watch. Now, when we compare between a watch which is totally put together and properly assembled and a watch which is totally disassembled, that is each part is kept different. So now both the properly assembled one and the disassembled one will definitely be having equal number of parts, but then the assembled watch will always have this phenomenon that it can show the time, it can keep time, whereas the disassembled one cannot do so. Now that is what synergy is all about in an organization. That is to tell, when the parts of an organization are interrelated, only then the output shall be much greater than it would be if at all each of these departments in the organization works separately. Now, synergy is one of the things that is very much challenging in an organization for a management, where the continuous effort shall be only on one thing to get all the elements of the organization to function together so that they shall be increased in output. Now, the next one what we have is open and closed system. Now, speaking regarding this, now a system or an organization is always considered as open organization if it has some connection with the environment. Now, if at all it does not have, it shall always be considered as closed system. Or, in other words, a organization which can adapt better, which can respond to the environment, is one such organization which can survive or, for that matter, grow in any period of time. And for that, our organization should always be a open system. Now, the one more thing that we speak is system boundary. Now, speaking about system boundary, each system or each organization will have a boundary which is not visible, but it definitely has, which shall always separate the system from that of the environment. Now, speaking about this system boundary, whenever it is a closed system, the system boundary shall always be rigid. And in open system, it shall be flexible. And in terms of system boundary, and if in today's competitive world, if the organization has to exist, then it becomes necessary that the organization or the system will always have more flexible boundaries. Then what we have is flow. Now, flow is regarding the inputs, how it is received from its environment and which are transformed into output in interaction with the environmental variables. Now, when we speak of organization or a product manufacturing company, always the inputs would be basically the material, labor, and the capital. And the transformation process is nothing but where these inputs are turned into finished products or services. And one thing regarding the system is that the success will always depend upon how better can the system interact with its environment. Now, the environment could be any of the elements that we spoke. It could be suppliers, it could be union, the financial institutions, government agency, or even the customers. Because all these elements of the system are interrelated and it works with one another. That is, we take materials from this environment, we produce a product or service, we sell. By selling we generate revenue, and this revenue is one thing which we use to pay off wages, taxes, and to buy inputs again or any other thing. Now, if revenues are not large enough to satisfy these environmental demands, then definitely the organization someday or the other definitely comes to an end. Now, then we have feedback. Now, speaking about feedback, it is one important thing or element to system control. Now, as operations of systems proceed, information is always given back to the appropriate people and it shall be assessed, and if needed these shall be corrected. Now, feedback always provides a warning signals, which warning signals of some of the problems that the organization might face in the future. Okay, now we have what is the relevance and the use of system theory. Now, speaking about this, now this system theory is advantage from the part that it always searches for the integrative model than be satisfied with making a list of unrelated principles such as what we have seen in our classical theories. And it also helps in looking into wide picture than just single elements. It also helps in highlighting underlying relationship and the practical implication of system theory for managers is huge because they definitely will not have time into see into each of the element one by one. For them it is always look into everything, and they should always have what is called as bird's eye view. And the limitations regarding system theory is that now, it is always objective and it is not at all influenced by, things like one best way or a manager decides things for others. But then the conceptual framework for understanding organization, provided by system theory is too abstract. That is, you do not have one specific thing what to see, what to look at. That is to tell, there is no specific variables. Okay. So this is all regarding the system approach. So within 2 to 3 minutes, the meeting shall come to an end. So this is it for today. Wait until I would be taking your attendance. Then you can leave the meeting for the day. So